Jai Jinendra, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, Jai Jaideepji, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, are you ready, Jaideepji? Today you are going to do presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, you will do the prayer or shall I do?
Sorry, ma'am.
Prayer आप कराओगे?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, करिए, start करिए. All the best.
मैम शेयरिंग का रिक्वेस्ट मत दीजिए मैम. स्क्रीन शेयरिंग.
Pardon? क्या बोला आपने?
मैम स्क्रीन शेयरिंग दीजिए मैम.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, अलाउ कर दिया मैंने.
हाँ.
जयदीप जी इंग्लिश में करने वाले ना?
क्या मैम?
इंग्लिश में करने वाले हैं ना?
हाँ, इंग्लिश हिंदी मिक्स रहेगा.
अच्छा अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं.
इंग्लिश हिंदी और
ऑल द
इंग्लिश
बेस्ट.
मिक्स.
इन इंग्लिश. Shall I start, ma'am? हरिहंत प्रभु जी नमो नमः. सिद्ध प्रभु जी नमो नमः. साधु साधवी नमो नमः. जिनवर धर्म नमो नमः. जिन शासन ने नमो नमः. जय जिनेंद्र to everyone.
Jai Jinendra, yes. हाँ दिख रहा है, पर आपको नीचे जो कप है ना उसको कर लीजिए तो आपकी जो लाइव स्क्रीन है वही चलेगी, साइड स्क्रीन नहीं दिखे. हाँ यस.
I have selected the topic of Islam philosophy and comparison with our Jain philosophy.
Yes.
When we are reading in the fourth semester about the philosophy, actually we have got a background when we have studied our MA course, where we have studied metaphysics, where we have studied epistemology, and now when we study the philosophies and compare with other religions, other philosophies, हमें इतना ज्ञान होता है कि where we are standing, where is Jain Dharam, whether we are reading these comparative studies only to for study purpose, or do we understand the philosophies and what was the intensity of the philosophies to start at that particular era, whether it was in the BC periods, whether it was in AD periods, or whether it was in 15th, first century to till 21st century. Whatever the things have happened, the changes have happened at that point of time. Whoever was the philosopher, or whoever was the prophet, or whoever was the Tirthankar, or whoever was Sankaracharya, everybody had their own difficulties, whether challenges, and to accommodate the people's mindset, everything was in very very different and difficult situation. So here when we are seeing what is philosophy and we are understanding that, it is not just to term that oh, philosophy was good, Jain philosophy is supreme, because we are Jains. We cannot be biased that only Jain philosophy is only the best ultima. Yes, we know the Gyan. When we know the Gyan, even our gurus, our teachers have told that we should understand the Gyan in a perspective where we should not be biased, and we should understand the philosophy in such a manner that what are the benefits in that philosophy, how that philosophy has developed that religion, and how it is compared with our religion. That is how I have benchmarked to understand, because this course has helped me to get into that insight to understand that. Otherwise, I used to always be biased with anybody where I am talking. Muslims, I want to be far away. Christians, I don't want to be engaging with them. But now when we read philosophy, when we have understood their religion, it feels that they are nowhere different. Even the some same people are there even today, but we cannot discriminate. That is why our dharam says that सबको equal से देखो, अनेकांतवाद से देखो, सियादवाद से देखो. That third semester syllabus which has helped us a lot to understand in a better perspective. To start with, Islam philosophy. What is Islam? Introduction of Islam says that Islam is world's major monolistic religion, which was founded in 7th century CE in Arabian Peninsula. Here, when I say it is founded in 7th century, because the last prophet, when he was born, that is the main induction which has been given in Islam philosophy, in the Quran and everything. They were predecessors with him. There were so many predecessors before Prophet Muhammad, but still to understand as a base, like everybody says, what is a base for Jainism? When we see our history, when our children are studying in class 5, 6, 7, 8, they say Lord Mahavira is the founder of Jainism. But when we read Islam, even here they say Prophet Muhammad is the philosopher who started this Islam. But there were predecessors, and the religion of what we understood in Christianity when Madam was teaching us, the roots comes from that particular era, that particular the whoever was the ruling, who was bringing what is God and all that. So Islam comes in Arabic root, which means peace and surrender to the will of God. Surrender to the will of God is called Islam actually. मीन्स आप समर्पित हो जाइए भगवान के नेसराय में, आप समर्पित हो जाइए, वही इस्लाम का एक स्लोगन है. दैट मीन्स सबमिशन. मैं उनके नेसराय में समर्पित हूं. दैट इज अ सबमिशन टू द विल ऑफ गॉड. Islam teaches us there are only one God, referred to as Allah in Arabic, and that Muhammad is the final prophet in line of prophets, which includes majorly Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. These are the prophets only who were there prior to Muhammad prophet. But when he brought a different philosophy because of the circumstances, what was going on. Too many and in that particular region, too many conflicts were there, the inequality was there, lot of suppression was there. All those things, when he observed, he was the main prophet to bring this Islam region into a monastic region which believes in one God, Allah, and teaching of Prophet Muhammad as conveyed through the holy book Quran. Islam is the second largest religion in the world after Christianity. When we see the statistics, when we see our geographical area of our world, where the continents are there, and everywhere if we see, the Islam is growing in a large scale. And today it is second largest after the Christianity, but it will not be too far away when it takes over the first largest religion, because the way the spreadingness is going in that particular religion, we can't even imagine that other religions are very, very minute in front of that. Today in India, we say Islam is minority. Karnataka government is fighting that it is only 4% where they are giving for minorities. But when we see all this, it will be in vice versa after a certain period of time. Say if it is not this generation, next generation or third generation, it will be vice versa, and they will be ruling the minorities like Hinduism and Jainism and all the other regions. Although its roots go back further, scholars typically date the creation of Islam. Where was the Islam created? Arabic country? Arabic country mein kahan? It was in Medina, Mecca of Saudi Arabia, which is today we are telling that it is Saudi Arabia. When we talk about even in our Jainism, we say that Sammet Sikar is where Nirvana has happened. But are we talking the same region today? Rajgiri, where Mahavir Swami did so many Chatrumas, whether we are talking of the same Rajgir, what is established in today's geographical map, that is very difficult to explain anybody, and the philosophy cannot be brought in with the past to present by stating that this is a region. Yes, we as a जो हम आस्था रखते हैं, आस्था के ऊपर, yes, we understand that that is a region. But in Mecca, they say that it is Mecca because they have got that particular Kaaba, which is established at that point of time, and it was there. In Egypt, when we talk Cairo, where there are so many pyramids and the structures of what they say, pyramids with the faces, and they had put that is all in that particular 6th century and beyond that. So God in Islam is referred to as Allah, which is Arabic means the God or the deity. A person who believe and practice the religion of Islam is called Muslim. Just talk about, we will talk about to understand कौन है इस इस्लाम का फाउंडर, व्हाट इज हिज बैकग्राउंड, व्हाई ही स्टार्टेड एंड व्हाट, उसको क्या जरूरत पड़ी कि इसको इस्लाम को रेज करना पड़ा. तो अंडरस्टैंड दैट प्रॉफिट मोहम्मद, which was in 6th 7th century, he was born in 570 and he expired in 632 CE. He is considered the last prophet. He is the last prophet in Islam. Muslims believe that he received a divine revelations. उनको तत्व का ज्ञान automatically he got through, and that too with the help of angel Gabriel, which were later compiled in the Quran with its rules and regulations and principles. जो स्तंभ थे, what are the major thought process, everything came into Quran. The rise of Islam is intrinsically linked with Prophet Muhammad, believed by Muslims to be the last and the long line of prophets after Moses and Jesus. Because Muhammad was chosen recipient and messenger of the word of God through the divine revelations, the divine power which he received, that was the awakening, and वही टर्निंग पॉइंट रहा है मोहम्मद प्रॉफिट का, that how he converted and how he brought in the changes. Because if you see today's world also, how Talibans behave, how Pakistani Muslims behave, how Jerusalem Muslims behave, how Palestinian Muslims behave at that point of time, if we imagine with the superpower what they had, the way their structures were there, the way they had the armories in them, then we feel that मोहम्मद साहब ने बहुत ही उम्दा काम करके जो रिलीजन को बिल्टअप किया है, and he made consensus between Medina and Mecca to brought this into one, and where he got divine revelations to walks of life strive, like the Holy Quran sayings of Prophet, Hadith, and descriptions of his way of life, Sunnah, are the most important Muslims texts which were brought into it. Because as I said, pre-Islamic Arabia, which is Jahiliya, age of ignorance, where there were a lot of tribal conflicts and wars, idol worship, polytheism was followed, and at Kaaba also in Mecca, which was followed as polytheism, idol worship. Social injustice were done. They were always against one another, including the oppression of women and the poor. They were always treated them as a niche jat or niche gotra, or in the very in different way they were treating. Infanticide, killing of newborn daughters as soon as any daughter was born, which was there. And the same philosophy little bit it passed on to our India also, and some of our say culture of Punjab, Rajasthan. If we hear our history, we see that they were goon hatya karte the, or if as soon as they come to know that it was a daughter who was there in their home or when she was born. So this is how the philosophy has brought in changes, because the culture which is coming from Arab to Afghanistan to Pakistan to India, that is how these Mughals, and prior to Mughals, another region was there, Ghazias and all those people have brought in this. That is where the social injustice, we can understand that on what front it would have been there. Infanticide, killing of newborns, lack of unified moral code, blood feuds, and revenge killings. Some people used to attack even sleeping individuals, and cruel practices like burning people alive were also prevalent. Life story of Prophet Muhammad. As I say that Arabian countries, here if you see in this map, say Arab, because this Red Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and here Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea which pass on later on. This is where this is being built up as Islam, which is the founding place, because this Africa was connected with this Asia connected, and Europe was connected here. When we see the dimension now, the continents and everything, we understand in a better way. But when Mecca and Medina was there, people used to just travel in sea. There were no road marks because the big deserts were there, so people never used to go in the big deserts because they used to get lost and they were never able to reach any destination. So they were traveling all through whatever the ship mode of transport. And this Red Sea which came into the picture, this also has a big history, that why it became Red Sea, but that I will not touch upon there. Now, when we talk about story of Prophet Muhammad, his father was Abdullah, who expired before even his birth, and his mother, who died when he was at the age of 6. His caretaker, जो उनको परवरिश करने में सहायक बने, वो थे उनके Dadaji, Abdul Muttalib, and even he died at very early age, at the age of 8 of Muhammad, even he passed away. Then his uncle, जो Abu Talib the, he took over and he took care of Prophet Muhammad, gave the basic things, basic needs, whatever was required. Then as he grew up, he was watching there what was happening in that particular region, because everybody in that region were all the merchants, and who were merchants, they were just doing trading businesses, whether whatever type, whether it was worst to worst thing and best to best thing, everything was traded. So he was working for one of the richest people, and who was by the name a lady called Khadija, who was a wealthy widow, and under her he was working. and he was a caravan safe passage where he used to travel to Syria, where in south of in African continent from Mecca, Medina, he was traveling there many times, and eventually when he got very in closeness to Khadija, they got married. When he was at the age of 25 and when she was at the age of 14, उनकी शादी हो गई. And after that, he was having a backbone of Khadija in whatever deeds he was doing. She was really a helping hand for him. They say that for every successful man, there is a woman behind. Here, I can term that way that Khadija was one of the successful lady to bring Prophet Muhammad to build up this religion as well. But after her till her death, she was very supportive. Even he was very much into the religion, understanding how the culture, how the things are going, inequality, जो ट्रेड पे हो रहा था, जो wars हो रहे थे, जो लड़ाई झगड़ा हो रहा था, all that he was observing and he was gaining that this is not right or which is right. He had that philosophy, he had that insight in his mind that something is not right. Then, after she passed away, he married multiple wives for political and social reasons to bring harmony. He used to take that advantage to be a politically strong or for socially strong really living. He married and he had some of his common wives' names, which are common as Aisha, Hafsa, Zainab, and Safiya. These marriages strengthened tribal alliances and provided social security. Then, how he developed and how his divine revelation started. If we see this photo which has been put here, this is where Gabriel, how she was or he was explaining to Muhammad Prophet. When he was at age of 40, he began and having visions and hearing voices. Searching for clarity, he would sometimes meditate at Mount Hira, the nearby place, जो मेक्का के नजदीक एक माउंट था. पूरी तरह से तो वो डेजर्ट में था, बट जो माउंट हीरा था इन दैट केव्स, जो गुफा गुफा था, उधर जाके उन्होंने ध्यान अवस्था में अपना ध्यान करने में लग जाते थे. उस ध्यान अवस्था में जब वो लगे, तब उनको वो डिवाइन पावर, डिवाइन रेवल्यूशंस स्टार्टेड टू कम एंड अटैक हिम एंड understand him. That because that is why we say whether any philosophy, any religion, dhyan is an important element. And even in Muslims we talk, or Islam when we talk, here also they have given importance on meditation. But how many follow what they are doing in today's contemporary life, that is a different matter. But the divine revelations only helped Prophet Muhammad to gain his knowledge and to get this backbone. Archangel Gabriel, the Jibril in Arabic, appeared to him and instructed him to recitate the name of Lord Allah. When he had the divine power, God came to him and he said, read. But he was not literate person to read anything. So he said, I don't know. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the same thing was surrounding him. Then the god was pinching him, holding him, scaffing of the neck, everything he was doing, but he was always answering, I don't know. Suddenly, the divine power was so intense that after that, once he said, yes, this is Allah. And this is where his revelations that became basis for Quran, the holy book of Islam, that one Ishwarvadi was always there. There are no multiple, and one Ishwarvadi Dharam, what he understood that God is only one and which is Allah. These early revelations pointed to the existence of single God, contradicting the polytheistic beliefs of pre-Islamic and Arabian Peninsula. His strong monotheistic message angered many of the Meccan. See, when he started believing that it is single God, there is no polytheistic beliefs and all, because वो मूर्ति पूजा में नहीं बिलीव कर रहे थे, द अदर रीजन्स वॉट एवर वॉज हैपनिंग, तो उनको लगा जब वो बोल रहे थे तो मेक्का के लोग को अपोज होने लगे इनके साथ. Because he was in Medina. After Mount Hira, he went to Medina and there he was practicing. There he got at least 1500 to 2000 disciplines where were following under his religion because he was preaching that Islam. But Mecca was not at all accepting. Mecca उसको कबूल ही करने में तैयार नहीं थे कि what Prophet Muhammad बोल रहे हैं वो सही है कि नहीं है. But the circumstances was changing slowly. There were wars. उस टाइम में बहुत झगड़े होते थे. लड़ाई झगड़े के साथ इनका बहुत ये हो गया कि उनको कोई अलाउ भी नहीं कर रहा था मेका आने के लिए. सो ही वाज बेस्ड इन मदीना ओनली. Then in 610 CE, at the age of 40, at Hira cave, when he attained that revelation, every preaching he began preaching monotheism, belief in one God, and he and his followers faced a lot of persecution, which is physical attacks and economical boycotts. Migration to Medina. Due to increasing threats, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Medina where they were staying and they were long time at that particular juncture. If you see 610 to 622, he was in Medina and Hijra caves itself. And lot of battles, Quraysh of Mecca, Battle of Badr, Uhud, and Trench. In 1630, somehow all the people were in consensus. He peacefully entered Mecca and cleansed the Kaaba of idols, establishing Islam as a dominant religion in Arabia. That is how he developed. And once he developed that, before that, when he got migration to Medina, at that point of 622 CE, at that time, Hijra calendar was brought in. That is where the Islam calendar was started. And this is the lunar calendar where they started. And from that only, they understand how do we read the moon, when the festivals will arrive, when their Ramadan will be there, when their Eid ul Fitr will be there. That is how they will be celebrating. Ultimately, Muhammad passed away at 632 CE in Medina and was buried in the Masjid Ab Nawabi. Where this is the picture, I got it from somewhere in internet. Must be this one of the masjid where his burial would have happened. Then his birthplace and Islamic State. Why Mecca and Medina have been named as Islamic State? Because that was the birthplace where they brought in that Kaaba system, polytheism to monotheism, and how Prophet made that, how he get the attain knowledge, I will not say, because when we compare with our Jainism, attain knowledge is something different, and as per Islam, the attain knowledge is different. Here he got the revelation, divine revelation from the Hijra caves where he was sitting through Gabriel, and that is how he developed. And some of the basic laws which were brought in Islam, where I did not find these kind of laws implemented in any of the religion, like whether it is Christianity or Hinduism or Judaism or our Jainism or Buddhism. Here they have a law which is Sharia law. And what is this law? It is an Islamic legal system derived from Quran and Hadith, which are the sayings of Muhammad. In Sharia law, the faith based on code of conduct, direct Muslims, how do we behave, how do they live, how do they wear, what is the clothes to be worn by women, how they should be dressed up, how their marriages should happen. All the guidelines and moral principles have been laid in the Sharia law. And Sharia law is again another thing. If they do any crime or commit any crime, they get harsh punishments. I have never seen any religion where we get any punishment. And when we see our Jain Dharam, even the person, if he has killed anybody, if we see Arjun Mali, where he was killing so many people, but still he got Shama Bhav and he was forgiven. That is where he got that intense knowledge and he became Keval Gyan. So this, if I compare with Islam and Jainism, Islam is like a contradict pura authority, and they lay down the principles where they are so shrewd and strict as well. So that has led the Islamic to grow more advanced way, because they said that how women should be there, how marriages should be there, how the treatment should happen to the criminals, how they are doing, what type of punishment should be given. This is how it is explained in Islam. Then Islam calendar, which I just told you as well, and how it is brought in that Hijra calendar in 622 AD, and the meditation he learned. And once even there is a message that when he went to Jannat, when he was doing meditation, he went to that Swarg, जो हम बोलते हैं हमारे भाषा में स्वर्ग, and in their भाषा it says that Jannat, traveled in a horse, where this picture reads here in the right side of the top screen. If you see, this is the picture where he rides on a horse and he's traveling to the Swarg to meet and understand his predecessors, जो उनके पूर्वज थे, उनको मिलने का अनुभव मिला, उनके साथ वार्तालाप करने का अनुभव मिला, and how based on the Gabriel who was accompanying him, and he took over to the Swarg and he understood. If we say the who are their predecessors, Judaism follows Abraham, which is totally, which when Hindu man was telling that Abraham is a person who was there to bring in Judaism. Similar way, even Islam is following Abraham. because Abraham is a prophet before Muhammad prophet. Earlier to that, there are some 10, 15, or around 20 or odd prophets before. Exact numbers I don't know, but there are more than 20 prophets who were there before Muhammad prophet, who were like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Last prophet was Muhammad in Islam, and Jesus was the last one in Christianity as well. So when we see this, when we read this philosophy, we come to know that how Christianity deteriorated and brought into the Islam culture. That is how I understand as a philosophy studying this particular topic. And what are the core principles in Islam? There are core principles and philosophies. Tawhid, oneness of God, one God, prophethood, belief in prophet, always believe in the prophet. Like if I compare this with our Jainism, we say oneness of God, one God. We don't say there is a God existing because it is all depending on karma. And our Kevali Gyanis and Tirthankaras have given us the preaching that how we should understand. But here it is oneness, one God is the one who ultimately says anything, it has to be done. And believe in prophets, whatever the prophets has ordered or the Quran is written, believe in that. And day of judgment, Akhira, day of the judgment in the Islam is very uh, a peculiar thing where they say that once a person who has come in this life as a human, he lives his life as it is. Once he dies, whether he'll go to Swarg or Narak, but the judgment will happen based on his life, what he has lived, will be done only by God. That is called Day of Judgment, Akira. And moral and ethical conduct, social justice, and charity. Two main parts of Islam are Imam and Din. Imam is faith, believe in God, angels, books, prophets, afterlife, and divine destiny. Din, Din is religion and practice, the way of life based on Islamic teachings. How we should be dincharya, how they should उनके religion को कैसे follow किया जाए. All that is being taught in Din. There are fundamental beliefs in Islam are that is belief in one God, belief in angels, that is farishte, that is the five fundamental beliefs are called as pradhan siddhant. Like we say in our Jainism that हमारे भगवान के क्या सिद्धांत बताए गए हैं, तो we talk अनेकांतवाद, स्यादवाद, प्रणतिपात, मुशवाद, अतदान, मैथुन, परिग्रह. All these are all which पांच महाव्रत है, 12 अनुव्रत है. All this we discuss. In Islam, they discuss of five sthambs, which are five siddhant. Believe in one God, believe in angels. In Farishte means they have their philosophers in that who have gone into deep after Muhammad Prophet. There were 8 to 19 who has been mentioned there. Belief in the holy book of Quran, believe in prophets. 28 prophets were named in Islam. That is like what I just have a few in my artery: Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. And belief in Judgment Day, when the deeds of people will be judged and souls will go to Jannat or Jahannam. That is how it is decided. Contributions and stump in the Islam. Contributions are ended what Muhammad Prophet brought into this philosophy. That is a very critical part. Even this question which we have got a 12 marker question which ma'am had given in our question bank. This is these two three topics which I am discussing in last. These are the key points where we can build up and put the answer for that question. What are the contributions of Prophet Muhammad? Ended idol worship. There were idol worships which were followed before he brought into it. He unified the Arabian tribes under Islam because Islam in Arabian countries they were divided. Some in Jerusalem, some in Mecca, some in Medina, some in Hira cave. That way it was Syria, Cairo, that is Egypt today, and all these were all divided. So this they unified and Arabian tribes under Islam, established social justice including rights for women and slaves, introduced laws for charity, zakat, and the fair trade, that every year they should donate something, preached peace, honesty, and compassion. The five pillars of Islam are Shahada, Salah, Zakat, Swam, and Hajj. Shahada is faith in one God and Muhammad as his messenger. Salah is the daily five prayers, whether it is at dawn time, noon time, afternoon time, sunset time, or the evening time, which even we hear the five time namaz when they do in all over our locality or wherever we are. We hear this. Zakat is a charity for poor and those in need. This I came to know when I was in school, when my friends were there, some of the Muslim friends, they were telling, Nahi, our dharam is very strong. Why? Because zakat was there, where we give donation, whatever we earn in income, at least 2.5% they give income. This all had my belief that yes, why this is there. That is why it made me that whenever I wanted to be a Jainology student and I want to learn about the dharam. This is where my mind was always striking. This point of charity was always hitting me that क्यों उस धर्म में बताया हमारे धर्म में नहीं बताया. But when you compare the zakat and our dan, which is supatra dan, which is the ultimate dan which we can give as one human, because जो supatra dan हम देते हैं वो हम एक life देते हैं. In here the dan is only just to give what you have earned. In our Jainism the dan relates to such a minutely that even the poorest of poor, whether in our religion, still have the bhav of dhan. Why? Because any guru maharaj, anybody comes, जो घर पे आते हैं गोचरी के लिए, तो हम बहराने का जो भाव रहता है और जो अहिंसा का हम में इनबिल्ट हो चुका है, तो वे भाव हमारे में रहते हैं कि वी शुड नॉट हार्म एनीबडी. दिस इज वेयर आई फाइंड दैट द Jainism is much, much, much superior than any other philosophy and any other religion. Yes, there are certain philosophies, certain principles which are always common in all the philosophies. Because when we are reading from last semester to this semester, and when we are seeing Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism, now Islam and Judaism, we see that there are many principles which are in common, like peace, honesty, compassion. But how do we take forward? How the roadmaps have been laid? That is very important role which I see in Jainism, especially when the roadmap is very clear and understandable, and it is in a proper order as well. Swam is fasting in Ramadan. Everywhere we hear that fasting, 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 or doing tapasya, tapasya, tapasya. But here also there is a tapasya. But here the Ramadan, it says that when the day starts and the day ends, that is where the fasting time is called for in Islam, that is Swam. After the sun sets, they have the liberty to eat the food. But if we compare with other religion, even in Hinduism, they say from morning to evening we can't take anything. In the evening we can take fruits. When we come to Bodh Dharam, they have the different kind of tapasyas. When we come to Jainism, the tapasya or fasting goes on to 24 hours and above. Till to 24 hours, though, it is so strictly followed that we just take, even if we take some water of hot water or boiled water or dovan pani, that will be in the time frame of between sunrises first Naukarsi till sun sets before the period of 20 minutes. So this is how we fast do the fasting, and the fasting which is compared with Islam. A Hajj pilgrimage. Hajj is a next fifth stamba, main pillar, where the pilgrimage to Mecca and Jerusalem is mandatory for them. That if they have capacity or not, they have to once in lifetime go to Mecca and Jerusalem. That is where today the governments of all over the world, they give the benefit to this particular religion. That is how their growth in the religion is happening. Because even if we see a smallest thing, now today's scenario in Karnataka, when they give free services to women to travel in bus, you see the most of the seats occupied by in the bus are by females and women, because they get free. So here when the Hajj pilgrimage also they have told free, the intensity of joining this religion from other religion also has become a core principle, and people used to get to travel, go there, free food, free shelter. That is how this religion also develops. This is my thought process, ma'am. I might be wrong here, you can correct me if I am wrong here later on. But my thought process came when I was reading this philosophy and comparing with our other religions. Then the Quran. This is again our 5 marker question, where what is Quran, define Quran, why the Quran is important. The Quran is considered the most important holy book among Muslims. It contains some basic information that is found in Hebrew Bible, as well as revelation that were given by Prophet Muhammad. The text is considered the sacred word of God and supersedes any previous writings. This is the sacred word of God. It supersedes any preaching, means जो भी Prophet Muhammad के पहले जो भी thought process था, जो भी ज्ञान था, he says that that is all superseding and given in the Quran. Means supersedes means which was earlier, उससे बेहतर इस book में बताया गया है, and this is the holy book. What are the teachings and rules in Quran? Quran, its teaching says that faith and worship, moral conduct, social laws about marriage, divorce, inheritance, business ethics, criminal justice, all that. 1 minute, man.
Yeah.
Then one of the teachings is jihad, struggle in God's path, not just warfare, but also personal improvement, how they should be, how they should behave. And their Quran tells end times and after time. What is a end time, how it has to be, and after life, where we are going to go, how the Allah will decide whether we will go to Jannat or Jannam. All this is being explained in Quran. Creation myth. The Quran states that Allah created the heavens and the earth, and all that is between is 6 yom, that is era. 6 yom is an era, which in ours we say Sagaropam, Avasarpinikal, all that. In their language they say yom, but yom is not exactly defined. I couldn't find that 6 yom is divided into how many years, what category, and it is. Muslim is divided in having many sects in that. Majorly two sects which are very common, Shia Muslim and Sunni Muslims. Shia and Sunni Muslims, emergence and other types. Shia Muslim and Sunni Muslim who followed their caliphs like Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and Ali were believed to be Sunni Muslims. And they, only the people of Caliph who was Ali was close relative of Prophet Muhammad. He was nephew as well as son-in-law, and who was the next leader believed to be in Shia Muslims, where Iran and Iraq follow more of Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims more of in Pakistan, India, Indonesia. There are many Sunni Muslims which have been followed. Other types of are Wahhabi, extremely strict interpretation of Islam, which was founded in 18th century. I was very surprised that after 6th century to 18th century, after so many years, somebody brought up and they say that even we have another sect there called Wahhabi. Al-Withi observes some Christianity and Zoroastrian, that is in Syria. Nation of Islam, African American Sunni, founded in 1930. This was again in 1930, which is very latest. And Kharitijis, radical fundamentalism from Shia, then they are Ibadis. These are the sects. This is what we have understood in Islam, the philosophy, the principles, the thumbs, the basic concept of how Prophet Muhammad was born, how his lifestyle was there, how his culture was brought in, how many marriages he did, when he attained the divine knowledge, and the divine knowledge made into how he has to behave, how he made Medina and Mecca one, how they all accepted the Arabian countries, and this is how the Islam rose and given the importance, becoming the second largest religion in world today. The whatever the briefings are, that oneness of God, and he was the last prophet, and he was follower of many earlier prophets. Day of judgment is one of the important element in Islam, and moral and ethical teachings, social reforms, how justice and equality, how zakat was brought in, the charity, the patience and perseverance, women rights, absolution of slavery was reduced, economic justice was brought in. These are the major beliefs and teachings from Islam where Prophet Muhammad has brought in. And this is what the key learnings of Islam religion and Islam philosophy. Now, when we compare, most of the points I have brought in at Jainism at that point of time, but as a aspect wise, if we compare, mainly 5 to 6 aspects where we can basically compare what is this, where is Islam standing, where is Jainism standing. Concept of God, there it is monotheism, one God, Allah. It is liberation. Yes, the philosophy is brought in the teachings of Mahavira today, like how it is brought in by Muhammad Prophet in Islam. The scriptures are, the Quran is being the holy book for Islam, but in Jainism we have agams which has been given by Tirthankar's Vani, अर्थ रूप में जो बताया गया था, और जो गणधर द्वारा गुंथित था गाथाओं के रूप में, जो आज हमें उपलब्ध भी है, जो आगम रूप में है। और उस आगम को अगर हम भी पढ़े, उसको जाने, तो इवन वी गेट लॉट ऑफ इंसाइट ऑफ आवर रिलीजन, द प्रिंसिपल्स, द वे ऑफ लिविंग, art of living of our life, and how we should shed our karam, how do we bring in nirjara and attain our shukla dhyan and obtain keval gyan. And life goal: worship God, follow His commands, attain Jannat, paradise, is what given in Islam Dharam. But in our Jainism, the life goal is attaining moksha. Any Jain, whoever is 2 years and 3 years, you ask any child, kya lakshya hai? Moksha, moksha, moksha. We can say any day we want moksha. But moksha is not that easy to attain. The cycle of birth, rebirth, what we are seeing because of our own karmas, where we were, how we are doing, what are the deeds we are doing. This is self analysis what we can do, and we can understand at least in this Manushya Bhav, and we can be a better person to shed our own karmas, and हमारे भाव को हम सुधार सकते हैं. But that is what is not the philosophy in Islam. It says that the God decides everything, whether we have to go to Jannat or Jahannam. Then non-violence, ahimsa. In Islam, they are allowed to have a self-defense purposes. They can do himsa, but in our dharam, it is absolutely non-violence. Ahimsa is paramo dharma. We cannot be against any small insect. Then how can we have self-defense for our own self? So this is how our Jainism follows, and which gives a more importance. If you see ahimsa paramo dharma and compare with any religion, any philosophy, now we are studying almost 7 to 8 or 10 philosophies from last semester to this semester. I have never seen any one word saying that ahimsa का equivalent भी कोई दूसरे धर्म में पाल रहे हैं या पालने का बताया गया है. Nowhere I see that. And
Non-violence, they follow only for the self-defense.
pardon me, ma'am?
उससे आगे कुछ भी नहीं करते हैं.
नहीं, allowed in self defense. They have their वो क्या बोलते हैं, they have to बलि देना. That word is there, madam, something where they sacrifice his some story was there that one son has to be sacrificed. When he gave that son, suddenly it became into Bakri, and that is how the Bakri festival also is celebrated. So I did not wanted to elaborate that with the comparison of animal sentiment there.
Terrorism.
Terrorism,
Terrorism.
that which you also told in the class there, the terrorism, how the terrorism has brought in, because they have the conflicts within there, they have their ego problem, they have their why that fellow is superior, so they want other religion, other culture to be deteriorating, and they want Islam to be promoted. That is where the terrorism also started there. And zakat, which I told already, 2.5% of wealth has to be distributed to the needy fellows or poor from the people who gain money. But in ours, we have alms giving, which is a major virtue of dan. Which type of dan, where we can explain to smallest and to largest to largest. When we hear so many stories in our Jainism, that dan of that one pigeon, how that became a big importance of dan, supatra dan, and there are a number of dan where we can compare with our Jainism with zakat. But zakat, they have a point of view that 2.5%, the wealth they have to donate. At least they have some regulations that yes, even they have to do some need for the charity. Then judgment day and karma. Allah judges humans on deeds, that whether they'll go to Jannam or Jahannam. But karma decides the next birth and ultimate liberation in Jainism. This is how we understand that how our karma plays a biggest role in understanding our next bhav, where it is going to go. We will not know that, but we can at least shed our karma when we see our so many saints जो साधु बने हैं, how they do the penance, how they do tapasya, how they behave, how their acharan is there, because this is all coming from our Agam studies. So we can understand that this is how we can build up to shed our karam and go to next bhav when we end our this life, that we should be in a better state, better place, where we can also think that teen bhav mein hum moksha chale jaye, all that we can think of. Then comes fasting, where they have Ramadan fasting, which I explained in detail earlier. But here, just to compare how is Ramadan fasting and varied fasting practices in our Jainism, whether it is from all the 12 types of tapasyas, what we do, unodri से लेके काय क्लेश to ध्यान तक, जो भी 12 internal and external tapas, what we do. Then dietary laws, they have the combination of eating halal meat, which is permissible food under them. But in our Jainism, we are such a strict vegetarian that even we don't even take vanaspati also into our bhojan in such specific dates. But now, as we understand science and the way the culture is going, we are also accustoming to have more of vegetarian foods. There are some foods which are coming equivalent to made up of like meat, and they have got in vegetarian meat they call. But this is where the culture is getting spoiled because of one person. Why the vegetarian should get that particular kind of concept to bring that type of food availability for the vegetarians? So I understand that the Jain Dharam speaks of food especially very minutely than any other religion. The food what we eat, the खान जो हमारे आहार में बने हुए पदार्थ हैं, इतने सूक्ष्मता से बताए हुए हैं कि where we get lot of things which are अहिंसा से जो हम बच सकते हैं, हिंसा से बच सकते हैं और अहिंसा का पालन कर सकते हैं, उस हिसाब से हमारे को आन पान खान का बताया गया है. बट दैट इज नॉट इन एनी अदर रिलीजन लाइक दैट. या दे से सात्विक फूड इन सम अदर रिलीजन्स, but sattvic also, what type of sattvic is very important. Then when we come to social reforms, rights for women, end of slavery and economic justice is spoken in Islam. Whereas in Jainism, we don't have any caste-like society. We have been treated as general equality, aesthetic lifestyle, and it is a normal lifestyle where we give importance to women and to give importance to males also. And that is a judiciary system which is being followed in Jainism. And we give respect to all our mothers, whoever is one wife concept and all others are treated maha बहन के समान समझना है. This is how our principles have been laid in our Jainism. And for all our wrongdoings, Islam has got a law to punish, to even to criminals, and to give a death penalty. But in Jainism, we don't have that. We give Kshama Bhav because by killing, what will we gain? Whether we'll get that happiness? No. But at least if we forgive and the person changes and he develops into a better personality, then that gives more satisfaction and our karma also will be shedded and we will attain a better position and better place. These are what the comparisons which I did, and some similarities and differences of Islam are ethical conduct, charity, fasting practices, simple living. This is where I have understood the Islam philosophy, ma'am, and I have compared with our Jainism, and I understand that the major differences of concept of God, violence and non-violence, afterlife liberation, and social hierarchy. This is how we understand as Jainism, and what is given in Islam, how we are changing. I don't want to term that Islam is mithyatva religion or it is wrong, because that is also wrong on any of the Jain's part, because we feel anekantvad. And when we are anekantvad, yes, certain principles are good in Islam, certain principles are good in Christian, certain principles are good in Hinduism, but Jainism has a better principles than all other philosophies. How do we prove that? By giving certain instances, certain agam ka vivaran, certain examples, and the way of living. That way we can improvise and tell anybody any argument, if even if it comes, that how we can defend what is Jainism and how it is also one of the important philosophies in this world. With this, I want to conclude that we have understood about Muhammad Prophet's teachings, emphasize monotheism, moral conduct, social justice, submission, and in Jain philosophy, how we have to be self-discipline, non-violence, karma, and liberation. This encourages ethics, compassion, and simplicity. This is how I understand Islam and comparison of Jainism. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Jai Jinendra, very good, nice presentation. I just want to ask you, like, what is the reason of growing so much Islamic religion? It is growing so much, in spite of it was very minor. Now, what is the reason behind it is growing so fast compared to
Ma'am, it is,
Jainism?
yeah, it is growing faster because they have their own culture, ma'am, where they say that First, one of the reasons, if I say in contemporary world, where we are seeing as day in, day out, it is one of the reason is population. They don't have any limits there. They don't have a concept of one wife. They have many wives concept. And even they have talaq system, but still that is not followed in such a rigid way. But the childrens are there. Even if we see one Sunday or anywhere, if you are going out one day and any one signal, if you stop, whether it is a car, whether it is a scooter, at least five people will be there in one family. So that is how the culture is growing there. And they are, but even if the culture grows, their children are not getting migrated to any other religion. Even when we see in Diwali time or Ganesh Chaturthi time, they see the Adambar, but they don't want to convert there. They want to follow their own
They
principles
are very
because they are
stubborn. They are
uh,
very stubborn and strict to their religion. Like they
yes,
have so much of belief in religion, where the other people they don't believe so much and they start converting. Like
correct.
we have seen so many our servants and everything because of they get some benefits. They want to convert it to Christianity. They want to convert it to into the
Yes,
Muslim. And now many Jain people or many Hindu girls they are attracted towards the Muslim and they
correct.
are going to the Muslims family and they are converting themselves.
Getting married.
So that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a very big scenario and very hard to tell that the we are not people are not understanding and they are getting caught. So now the new movie it has come now, The Diplomat. That also there is a story of the one person, one
Yes, ma'am.
lady, one girl. Even though she was Muslim and she was harassed so much, so badly, and how she comes back and without being biased, without being thinking that she's Pakistani, she's Muslim. Even the Indian, they've given so much of support and they have helped her to come out from that thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So, anything else? अरुणा जी, कोमल जी, पूजा जी, किसी को कुछ डाउट है, कुछ पूछना है? Very
नहीं मैम,
briefly, very nicely, as
नो नो
explained
मैम,
everything.
वेरी
हाँ
गुड,
मैम,
वेरी
वो
गुड
केरला स्टोरी
प्रेजेंटेशन।
वैसा ही है ना उनका सिनेरियो।
बहुत अच्छा
जो
प्रेजेंटेशन था
कॉन्सेप्ट
दीदी।
है आपके जो क्वेश्चंस है उसके भी सारे आंसर पिन पॉइंट करके
हाँ
उन्होंने
हाँ,
हाईलाइट करके आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दिए हैं।
यस
नहीं,
मैम।
प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत अच्छा था मैम।
मैम बहुत अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन, बहुत नाइस,
हाँ,
बहुत अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन।
थैंक यू मैम। कल
अभी
पूरा
इस्लाम
प्रैक्टिस
का
कर रहा
कुछ
था।
रहा ही नहीं होगा, पूरा पूरा डीप में हो गया है।
हाँ,
इसके आगे कुछ नहीं रहा अभी।
नहीं, मैं बहुत ट्राई
उन्होंने
किया मैम। मैम ने बताया भी था मेरे को, इतना मिलेगा आपको डेटा कि आप ही परेशान हो जाएंगे, कितना मिलेगा। आई वॉज समवेयर कंफ्यूज ऑल्सो दैट मैं और कुछ डालना है क्या, क्योंकि अगर आप मेरा एक दो स्लाइड्स देखेंगे ना, तो कोर प्रिंसिपल्स प्रिंसिपल्स और टीचिंग्स में मेरे को कॉमन 3-4 जगह कॉमन आ गया है।
हम्म,
क्योंकि बहुत सारे मैटर और बहुत सारे अलग अलग एंगल से भी आप ले सकते हो और इसको बनाना है तो इन डेप्थ कितना भी डिटेलिंग में कर
यस,
सकते हो बट बिकॉज वी हैव द टाइम लिमिट एंड बिकॉज वी हैव द सिलेबस लिमिटेशंस वी कैन टेक्स ओनली सो मच थिंग्स बहुत सारा
करेक्ट।
लेके भी हम लोग लाइक यू पीपल विल बी लॉस्ट पर जो जो
यस,
मेन इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है वो हमको समझना है एंड व्हाई वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड कि whenever we are going to the people we can be able to conflict matlab we can able to discuss with them we don't want to prove ourselves best but we want to show how it is different
करेक्ट
and how
करेक्ट मैम।
Jainism stands differently
यस,
and how sukshma and subtle way it is going so just to keep our point and just to make priority of the liberation and what is the liberation according to Jain philosophy because we want to just tell so we should be knowing all the other philosophies all the other religions so we can be clear in our mind
यस मैम।
क्योंकि गांधी जी जैसे इतने सक्षम पुरुष भी धर्म परिवर्तन के लिए रेडी हो गए थे कि ही वॉज
करेक्ट।
रेडी के हिज फ्रेंड्स वर फोर्सिंग हिम टू बिकम मुस्लिम एंड क्रिश्चियन फ्रेंड उनको क्रिश्चियनिटी में कन्वर्ट करने के लिए बहुत फोर्स कर रहे थे ड्यूरिंग दैट कंफ्यूज में क्या करूं बिकॉज ही वॉज नॉट अवेयर ऑफ हिज ओन रिलीजन उन्हें धर्म वैष्णव धर्म के बारे में उन्हें कुछ नहीं पता होने के कारण ही वॉज कंफ्यूज देन ही रोट number of letters to Srimad Rajchandra, then he get the clarification कि नहीं आप अपने धर्म के बारे में जानो अपने धर्म के बारे में अगर नहीं समझोगे तो आप अपना स्टैंड कैसे लोगे then he realized फिर ही वो कन्वर्ट नहीं हुए नहीं तो वो कन्वर्ट होने ही वाले थे या तो क्रिश्चियन या तो मुस्लिम में so this is
कौन
the
मैम?
thing that we, हाँ
कौन?
महात्मा गांधी जी
गांधी जी।
अच्छा, हाँ।
father of our nation Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Even he was thinking to convert himself.
Ma'am,
जब वो
Acharya Raichand had played a bigger role for Mahatma
हाँ,
Gandhi to
हाँ,
be in.
हाँ. And I have that letter also in which he has asked 30 questions
Yes.
about his own religion, and उसका clarification जब श्रीमद ने दिया और उनको किताबें पढ़ने को बोले कि आप अपने धर्म की किताबें पढ़ो, अपने धर्म के बारे में जानो, तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आपका धर्म भी कितना महान है.
Man, yes.
फिर वो सब पढ़ने के बाद उनको पता चला कि ये मैं क्या करने जाने वाला था. मतलब जब तक हम अपना नहीं पढ़ेंगे तब तक पता नहीं चलेगा, और जब तक दूसरों का नहीं पढ़ेंगे तब तक हमका भी पता नहीं चलेगा कि हाँ हम लोग कितने डिफरेंट है और कितना हमारा धर्म उत्तम है. तो उसको भी जानने के लिए ये सब कंपैरिजन करना बहुत जरूरी होता है. दैट इज द रीजन वी हैव केप्ट दिस सब्जेक्ट एज कंपैरेटिव आल्सो. सो यू व्हेन यू गो आउट और कभी कोई भी ऐसे फ्रेंड से बात करो तो हमको पता होना चाहिए कि क्या है कैसे. वेरी नाइस, वेरी गुड प्रेजेंटेशन.
Thank you.
Good. So now today you are also finishing your presentation. कल आपका है ना अरुणा जी?
हाँ मैम, कल मेरा है.
ठीक है, तो कल हम आपके क्लास के लिए प्रेजेंटेशन के लिए मिलेंगे. और कुछ डाउट है किसी को इस्लाम रिलीजन के बारे में? तो मतलब यहाँ पे जो भी जितने भी क्वेश्चन थे वो सारे क्वेश्चन के आंसर्स भी उन्होंने हाईलाइट करके दे दिए हैं और वो भी उसमें डाल दिए हैं और आपके पास नोट्स भी है. सो आई डोंट थिंक सो यू हैव एनी डाउट, राइट? कोमल जी, पूजा जी, अरुणा जी, और कोई डाउट है?
नहीं मैम, हमें हिंदी में दे दीजिएगा.
हाँ, PDF में भेज देता हूँ.
जी.
हाँ, PDF में. Sure.
चलो.